Okay, so hello again. Good afternoon. Before proceeding, we would like to remind everyone of the following reminders. Mute your microphones throughout the meeting. You may unmute your microphone during discussions or open forum. Please rename yourself in the following format: your course, year level, and last name. Example, BSFS 4 De La Cruz 1. If you have any questions or clarifications, please don't hesitate to type them in the chat box or approach any of the JDC officers. Please open your camera at all times. Your participation throughout this meeting is highly appreciated. And also remember that this meeting is recorded. Thank you. One vision, one identity, one community. This has been the official motto of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, since it was founded in the year 1967, which seeks to establish unity with its neighboring countries through the power of diplomacy.
Buenos tardes. Buon pomeriggio. Buon pomeriggio. Good afternoon, everyone, especially to our fellow young Augustine diplomats here at the University of San Agustin. I am Duncan Ferbello.
And I am Lu Michaela Fruto, and we would like to welcome you all to the JDC Talks, Embracing Caritas in the New Normal. To officially start our program, let us put ourselves in the loving presence of God as we offer Him praise through our opening prayer that will be followed by the Philippine National Anthem and the Augustinian Hymn.
This is truth, this is beauty, this is wisdom. I am free, late have I loved thee, oh beauty so ancient yet so new.
This is beauty, this is wisdom, I am free, Lord, have I loved thee, oh beauty, so ancient yet so new.
Bayang magiliw, pelos ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pansisiin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong mukha. May nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningin. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng wala't ipagsinta, buhay langit sa piling. sa'yo.
At this juncture, to welcome us, let us lend our ears to Miss Elaine Rose Imnasin, the JDC advisor, as she gives her opening remarks.
Okay, so hello everyone. Good afternoon. I know that you are already excited to meet and listen and learn to our guest speaker for today, but allow me to welcome each and every one of you and to provide insights on what to expect in today's activity. So first of all, let me acknowledge the people present today. First is our guest speaker, His Excellency Ambassador Nobel Eugene Eusebio Servigon, the Philippine Permanent Representative to ASEAN. Also to the faculty members present here, the foreign service students, and of course the organizers, the Junior Diplomats Corps. And I would also like to give credit to the batch 2019 and to Attorney Cinco for pioneering the activity JTC Talks. So this activity provides a platform to educate ourselves and others about foreign relations. So overall, this activity will not be successful without these persons. So now, as we all know, we are in the third year of the pandemic. And similarly, we on that third year, we are trying to analyze, study, understand the international issues before us. And if you needed to hear this today, please know that I'm very proud of you. So I know that most of us are also affected by the scheduled power interruption. I myself is affected and my laptop now is on 30%. So I hope that this video will be able to reach you. But despite that, I'm here with you to join this special event of knowing the ASEAN meetings in the new normal. So similarly to the talk we have today, we are brought together in one setup, although a virtual one, for a purpose, and that is to understand how the international community works through the international organizations. So when I was still a student, I did not have access to these opportunities. So even though I do not really, I mean, not everyone is fond of online setup, but because of these talks, because of these opportunities, no, shifts online setup into a positive tone. Okay, so despite all of these hindrances, as diplomats, we still need to expand. We still need to be open-minded to know how the international community works, especially now that aggression is slowly emerging. That makes coalition and solidarity of nations more and more important and necessary. So I hope that after this talk, you will be able to facilitate knowledge to others how diplomacy is important despite being in a pandemic, how talks, how negotiations should continue, and how nations should think of several venue to make these negotiations happen. Okay, so after this talk, I hope you will remember it, because if I was your teacher, we will have an exam. So fortunately, I'm not your teacher, so still uh, uh, take all of the opportunities that you can and spread awareness, because the world needs it. So thank you, and here's to international peace.
Okay, so thank you, Ma'am Elaine, for your enthusiastic words of welcome.
Moving forward, the pandemic has been a challenging crisis not only for the Southeast Asian nations, but for the whole world as well. But despite these challenges, we in ASEAN still find ways to embrace Caritas, the love that can be seen in the brotherhood of ASEAN nations.
Thus, to further awaken our knowledge on how ASEAN meetings and events work in the new normal, let me do the honor in introducing our honorable guest speaker for this event. Our resource speaker this afternoon is a career diplomat with the rank of Chief of Mission, Class 1. Presently, he is the permanent representative of the Philippines to ASEAN in Jakarta. He is also a member of the Board of Trustees of the ASEAN Foundation, of the Governing Council of the ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation, and of the Joint Council of the ASEAN China Center in Beijing. He assumed his present position in May 2019. He joined the Department of Foreign Affairs in 1988 after passing the Foreign Service Officers Examination. His first posting was at Vienna, Austria, from 1991 to 1997 as third secretary and vice consul, then as second secretary and consul of the Philippine Embassy. He was also the alternate representative of the Philippines to the International Atomic Energy Agency and the United Nations office in Vienna. From 1999 to 2002, he was the first secretary and consul at the Philippine Embassy in Ankara, Turkey. From 2002 to 2005, he was cross-posted to the Philippine Embassy in Hague, Netherlands as first secretary and consul, and at the same time as the alternate representative to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. From 2007 to 2009, he was the Minister of the Philippine Embassy in the United Arab Emirates and Consul General of the Philippines for Abu Dhabi. From 2009 to 2011, he was the Consul General of the Philippines in Manado, with jurisdiction over eastern Indonesia. From 2011 to 2013, he served as a Consul General of the Philippines in Hong Kong. Before assuming his present post, he was the ambassador of the Philippines to the Socialist Republic of Vietnam from 2016 to 2019. While assigned at the Department of Foreign Affairs in Manila, he served in various capacities at the Office of the Undersecretary for Administration, Office of Personnel and Administrative Services, Office of ASEAN Affairs, and Office of United Nations and other international organizations. He once held the position of Director for Human Rights and International Humanitarian Law and was the first head of the Human Resources Management Office. He represented the Philippines in various international conferences of the United Nations and its affiliated organizations, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and the International Red Cross. He obtained his degree of Bachelor's of Law from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, in 1988 and was admitted to the Philippine Bar the next year. He has also the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and History from the University of the Philippines, Visayas, where he was a college scholar and a university scholar, and Master of Public Management from the University of the Philippines, Open University. His first job after college was teaching. He was a member of the faculty of Iloilo Doctors College, University of the Philippines Visayas, Trinity University of Quezon City, and the La Salle College of St. Benilde. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our guest speaker for this afternoon, His Excellency Ambassador Noel Eusebio Servigon.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that we will have a good connection this afternoon. Mayong hapon gid sa inyo na tanan. Medyo malabo lang ang kamera ko diri sa Jakarta. But I hope that you can see me. So, fellow ASEAN citizens in Iloilo. First of all, madamo gid nga salamat nga agda niyo ako na hambal sa inyo ini hapon. Although it's a weekend, I took the opportunity because I know that this is the first time that I will be meeting the young people of San Agustin. Although I also spoke there in 2014 when we were campaigning for the Foreign Service Officers exam, but it was only for a short time. So, fellow ASEAN citizens, I call you ASEAN citizens because we are all part of ASEAN. As the ambassador of the Philippines to ASEAN in Jakarta, I have witnessed during this COVID-19 pandemic, the sudden transformation of multilateral diplomacy, specifically in the conduct of ASEAN meetings and events. I will not discuss with you the structure or the organization of ASEAN because I assume that you have learned about it in your other courses. I will focus only on the way ASEAN meets during this pandemic. It has been almost 2 years since ASEAN, like most international organizations, started using the virtual or online video conference format in its meetings and events. Video conferencing, like what we have seen in science fiction movies, was introduced many years ago. In the Philippines, I remember how Skype pioneered this communication medium. ASEAN is no stranger to this format. Video conferencing facilities have been installed in all ASEAN offices and national secretariats, and guiding protocols have been developed to facilitate and even promote its use within ASEAN bodies. While virtual meetings have been done in the past, we have never seen the scale in which it is being embraced now amidst this pandemic. But every crisis presents an opportunity, and the COVID pandemic is not an exception. COVID-19 has contributed to the emergence of newer and better modes of communication. At the Philippine Mission, that's my office, the Philippine Mission to ASEAN, we started with Zoom, then with Google Meets. The ASEAN Secretariat introduced us to the platform called Blue Jeans. On the other hand, during the ASEAN Summit, the preference is for the more expensive Cisco WebEx. However, here at home in Jakarta, my wife and I communicate with our sons in Manila just using Facebook Messenger. By the way, I'm doing this talk now at our home here in Jakarta. There is a raging COVID pandemic outside, and some of our colleagues in the office have been infected. So, ASEAN citizens, I would like to begin my talk by briefly discussing the different aspects of ASEAN meetings through video conference. I hope that my share screen is effective. Palihog lang ang bar kung hindi nyo makita, no? Do you see it? Did it appear?
Yes, Ambassador.
Okay, maayo gid. So that is slide 1. Now slide 2. Let us now start with the good features about this kind of meeting that we have now. I'm trying to move this. Oh, there it is. So here are the advantages of virtual meetings. Safety, the avoidance of travel hassles, low environmental impact, minimal formalities, and technical innovation. Let's start with the first. As you can see in the screen, before the pandemic, this is how we meet. We sit near each other, as you can see. Dikit-dikit kami. And then with many of our colleagues at the back. But because of this pandemic, we were reduced to this screen, the screen meeting in cyberspace. And this is how we see each other during our meetings. The most obvious benefit of this format is the safety. The absence of interpersonal conflict would help ensure the safety of all participants in the meeting or event. Next, travel hassles are avoided. You could just imagine the airport before the pandemic. In the past, ASEAN meetings were not only held here in Jakarta in its headquarters, but they were hosted by various ASEAN member states in all locations all over the Southeast Asia region. Sometimes external partners also host meetings in other parts of the globe. This would require, among others, booking flights, reserving hotel rooms, and determining weather and health condition in the destination. So with the restrictions in travel brought about by the COVID pandemic, ASEAN diplomats still had to meet. And this is done without flying to another place. We do not have to worry about the usual risks, such as lack or delayed flights, lost luggage containing our documents, or road traffic. We just have to connect from our audiovisual rooms in our respective offices, or even in the comfort of our own homes. So here am I in my own room. Without this pandemic, you would not be able to invite me maybe to go to Iloilo to speak before you. And just think how difficult it is. Although Iloilo is my hometown, I seldom visit the place anymore. But with this kind of meeting that we have, the expense, the hassles of travel are all avoided. There's something also related to this. You must have heard about participants in meetings who are properly attired, but only on the upper half of their body. That part which could be seen by the video camera. Maybe you might be guessing, I'm just wearing a barong in my upper body. Do you know what I'm wearing below? Anyway, my wife is always inspecting me so that I don't have to be caught in an embarrassing situation. But I never went to the extent of wearing shorts, as you can see in some other videos. Sometimes they are caught in live TV wearing shorts while having the video conference. However, there's one comfort that I always enjoy while doing this at home. Do you know what is it? I don't have to wear leather shoes, formal shoes. It's just so comfortable, huh? That iniil ka lang here in my working room, my study room at our home. So it's just comfortable that I can attend meetings without having to wear formal leather shoes. And after 2 years, it seems that my feet have been used to this, such that I don't know what will happen if I will be required to attend personal or actual meetings wearing formal shoes. Related to this, a participant could continue monitoring a meeting, although he or she would be unseen from the screen. Just like now, if I were in front of you personally, it would be difficult for you to escape the room. But in video conferencing platforms, you just can temporarily switch off your video. Diba? Just switch it off or replace it with a frozen image. Ang iba dyan magaling maglagay ng frozen image eh. Parang daw to old man, no? Yung pala, ano pala, frozen lang pala na image to. This is very convenient, hindi ba? Very convenient, especially when you want to take a break or you are sleepy. So I don't know if some of your classmates here are sleepy. I could see that most of them are not daw kalabanan gigilid naka ano or naka-frozen ang mga ano nila. Naka-frozen ang video nila. Si ma'am niya, arada si ma'am. Hindi nakita si ma'am. Either I see ma'am Alain. Pero ang iba niya gali ga panago. Maybe bago lang mo kubugtaw. Pwede ko makita ang mga nahong niyo. Okay. Anyway, during meetings, I noticed that some of our colleagues also switch off their videos, and we suspect that they are maybe not interested or bored or sleepy. But I don't want to share a picture of that. Okay. Next. Also related to these travels. You know how difficult it is to travel to the other side of the world and then to attend a meeting immediately. So jet lag is really a very real problem for many of us. Actually, according to our health experts, you need at least 3 days in order to adjust yourself and avoid jet lag. But with video conferencing, we can still maintain our presence in the meeting without traveling. Then still another thing related to travel. Working from home brings environmental benefits. The carbon footprint which accompanies air and land travel is dramatically reduced. Have you noticed it? 2 years ago, you may have seen videos circulating around or even photos during the height of the global lockdown, where the skies were blue, the waters were clear, and it seems that wildlife appeared rejuvenated. Okay. Next. The next benefit of video conferencing is this. Traditional formalities could be dispensed with. Video meetings, virtual meetings could be organized quickly without having to bother with traditional formalities such as arrival and welcome ceremonies. I'm sure you have seen in 2017 there in Iloilo when ASEAN meetings were held when the Philippines was chair. There are many ceremonies, many formalities in the airport, even in seating arrangements, protocol guides, and you will also have to provide for security and medical services. Instead of these formalities, the new normal in meetings involve more valuable time for people to do substantive preparations. Furthermore, the cost of meetings has also been tremendously reduced. There are no more free lunches and dinners with cultural shows to be hosted by the organizers. Diba? If you invited me to San Agustin there, I'm sure that you will have also some ceremonies or formalities. So with this virtual meeting, it's only through this video conference that we meet. Budlay pang obra mo, Nicole, no? Okay. So just imagine, even for student organizations, how difficult it is to organize all these ceremonies. Much more for us as career diplomats organizing these meetings. I've done this for 30 years. So it's just so difficult, especially with leaders coming. Okay. The shift to virtual meetings has further allowed more members of the delegation to observe proceedings virtually. In the past, the number of delegates were limited due to travel costs. But with the virtual format, more delegates are now able to monitor the meetings. Diba? Okay. Next. Technological innovation. This photo shows the Secretary General of ASEAN having a virtual meeting. This new normal with the increased reliance on electronic communication has ushered in a period of speedy technological innovation. More companies have designed better platforms that have proven to be worthy substitutes for the traditional face-to-face formats. It took only a few weeks of adjustment for ASEAN diplomats to realize that meetings and events could still be held successfully without the actual presence of the participants. I am amazed at how our colleagues have ensured that certain ASEAN ceremonies could still push through under these difficult times. Actually, we are looking forward to the next level. For those who are old enough to remember Star Wars, diba? For those who still remember Star Wars, do you see them, the Jedi Council meeting through hologram? Diba? So we look forward to having such kind of meeting as if your counterpart is present in the room, but they're just holograms, right? So although we don't want to prolong this pandemic, maybe in some other ways we could be able to, someone will be able to invent so that the Star Wars, parang Jedi Council, if you remember it, it will become a reality. We have learned to accept that there's no need for face-to-face. No? Hindi na kailangan mag, some meetings do not require face-to-face appearance. physical appearance of the speaker, just like what we are doing now. No need for you to see me in person. Although my video camera here is not so clear, di ba? Okay. So ASEAN citizens, those are the good features of the new normal in ASEAN meetings, ASEAN diplomacy. But these good features tell only one side of the story. Now let me talk about the challenges in the new normal. Here they are. We will discuss this one by one. Okay. First of all, dependence on technology. I have been told that many of you are concerned about your internet connection now in Iloilo. Ano natabo dira sa Iloilo? Naubos ang load nyo kagabi? The virtual format is heavily dependent on technological and digital infrastructure. Unlike before, when only the physical presence of participants is the minimum requirement for a meeting, now we need an array of equipment. Sa una, tao lang ang kinailangan natin para mag-meeting. But now, you need a high-resolution webcam, an electronic video display screen, a noise-canceling headphone. Naku, wala pa ko yan. Noise-canceling headphone, and microphone set, and an up-to-date computer system that could put all of the above together to produce the desired outcome in a video conference. And I just realized now, like me, I need also a good lighting facility here. I don't know how you are lighted so well, no? Kagwapa sa inyo tananda sa picture nyo. Pero ako yung kadulom. Maybe you're using a spotlight. Are you using a spotlight? Anyway, I'm not facing the window, so as you can see, I have a shadow on my other side. If I did this in my office, I have better lighting there, and I have my staff to check me. Those who are participating from home, like me, without assistance or aids, also need a digital database of information records on hand, especially during very serious meetings. It happened to me that I was chairing a meeting alone at home, and there were questions which I had really to prepare for because I'll just be alone. In order to ensure successful online meetings, substantial investment in reliable brands has become necessary. When the lockdown was starting, I was able to rush to the computer store to buy this desktop, which I'm using now, instead of just relying on my laptop. But it seems that after 2 years, medyo ano tong Lenovo na desktop, the camera is not anymore working as it should be. I don't know why. It's not anymore as bright as before. Madulom gid ako, Nicole?
Hindi man amba. Clear man.
Yeah, clear man, but I see here in the screen that I'm so dark. So you're clear. You see me clearly?
Yes,
Oh,
amba.
that's good. Yeah, maybe it's only my appearance here that I look dark. Okay. So that is our dependence on technology. If you do not have load in your mobile phones, you cannot attend these meetings. If your internet provider is very unreliable, it's always a problem. It happened to me 2 years ago. And also for my colleagues, most of us get frozen in the screen, or even our visuals do not appear. But after 2 years, it seems that they have improved with the internet, maybe except my Lenovo desktop here, which is not anymore that clear. The next item, which is a big challenge for us, as I've said, is the stable internet connection. Di ba? Especially for those who are prepaid, you'll have to, even in your plan, you will have to pay much just to be able to maintain a connection. Maubusan kayo ng load. Since many participants in these online meetings are based at home, they have to be contented with the capacity of their home internet, which might have been intended for lighter and less formal purposes. Did you notice that? We had internet at homes, but the provider never anticipated that we will be using it for classes. Imagine 8 hours a day. So it really got overloaded. The consistency of this connection is of utmost importance. Otherwise, participants might miss important segments of discussions in the meetings. It happened to us in our meetings. We always request the speaker to repeat, because it's either we were cut off or the speaker was cut off and he did not know that he was speaking without us. So it's a very difficult situation. In my case, I always have my mobile phone ready as backup whenever the regular connection of my computer is interrupted. I also arrange for another colleague to simultaneously monitor the meeting in another place with another internet provider, and to be ready to take over my place in case I lose the internet connection. So Nicole, if I get lost here, I get disconnected, there is my colleague, another Noel, who is ready to take over. He has copy of my speech, his copy of my slides. Okay, we always do that. Okay, next. Here is something really very important, cybersecurity. For diplomats, this is really important. And this is really a big challenge for us now. You are very familiar with the Zoom bomber, di ba? Baka may mga Zoom bombers tayo dito? Who is controlling your security? I asked my colleagues to join, and I think my 2 sons are there also. You have seen them, huh? Those are my 2 sons. My wife would like to see me also, but I told her if she will use the internet at home, I might be disrupted. So the Zoom bomber. Have you experienced with the Zoom bomber? You never experience it? Oh. Diyan, si Lilo Mayo, mga buot, mga Ilonggoro, ay gapang ano tawag na? What's the term for that? I already forgot the Hiligaynon term. In my experience, the unintentional images appear, because of the carelessness of some technical or support staff. They're careless. who inadvertently allow themselves or others to appear on the conference screen. Did you know that there are some platforms that even if you switch off your video, no, stop video kayo, they can open it and see you. Did you know that? Parang high-tech, no? Parang like in the movies. Have you seen movies like that? That they will spy on you by opening your video camera in your computer. I have seen that 2 years ago. I think they were just playing with each other, the technical stuff, and they keep opening the video cameras of their colleagues. Some of them we have seen while eating noodles, others were sleeping, others were smoking, and we had to call their attention because it distracted our meeting. That's the power of technology. Yung mga hackers, actually they're not hackers because they're the ones controlling the video. Who's controlling the video now? The Zoom. Who's your host? Miss Fruto. So you can control. Can you open the videos of those sleeping now?
Right
Ang mga
now,
upod mo
Aba,
da,
no.
nangatulog. Mga closing video nila, hindi mo sila ma-open ang video nila.
No po.
Oh.
I guess nang Nicole can.
Nicole, si Nicole ba ang control? It happened before. So like now, my camera here, my webcam in my camera has a shutter. No? So maski ano yung brand yung nakakontrol, I can just shut it. Hindi yun ako makita kung gaano ako di. Pero ang iban, ang nila kung pwede pa sila makapamati. They can still listen by opening the sound and the audio. So it's really very important to have cybersecurity. There are really mischief makers surreptitiously infiltrating conference networks in order to sabotage the online meetings. So that's strange that you have not experienced it. Mabuot gid mga Ilonggo, no? Okay. Next. Eavesdropping. Before, you have this kind of eavesdropping just in the wall or in the door. No? But now, it's all still a reality in video conferences. Just like wiretapping of telephone conversations in olden times, unauthorized access to online meetings could be easily done with appropriate technology. Consequently, the so-called executive briefings or confidential meetings could no longer be conducted under this online format. It's really difficult. You really have to find a very secure connection. Otherwise, you have to meet your counterpart face to face so that you can discuss confidential matters. The traditional tete-a-tete or face-to-face intimate conversations or huddles by leaders and top officials on sensitive topics are unfortunately no longer possible in these times. Before COVID, these forms of close personal interaction have been effective in the settlement of disputes, in breaking deadlocks, and in achieving consensus, which is the foundation for every ASEAN activity. Instead, these confidential conversations through electronic means are minimized or totally discontinued because of the risk of interception. You have seen that, di ba? Sa mga messages nyo, may naka-intercept na mga messages. Have you noticed that? Even in Messenger, some people are lurking and they will get your message. You don't experience that? You don't do that? I've heard about that, especially yung mga especially among boyfriends and girlfriends, checking about messages. So it's also the same in diplomacy. Some people would like to know what are the messages being sent. And some have the technology to intercept. But what we are sending. It also happen, especially during chat, group chats, di ba? You have group chats in Viber, in WhatsApp. So during meetings, sometimes we notice that some messages are deleted. That means na sa group chat, one participant was sending a message and then realized later on that he sent the message through the group chat and not to the other counterpart. So delete. No? He had to hurriedly delete the message. Confidential pa ba? So that is the danger of these electronic communications. Unlike when you are doing it face to face, you are sure that your message is sent to the other person securely, even if you're whispering. Okay, next, non-verbal communications. In actual meetings, non-verbal signals from one participant to another could be helpful in ascertaining positions on a pending issue. I'm sure you do that in class, di ba? When you are in the classroom, you can have signals. A warm smile or a slight nod could mean a gesture of possible agreement. Di ba? A sharp, piercing glare could be a warning of non-support. I know you do that. Ano ba sabi nila? Ano ang ambal nila sa Ilonggo na matalim ang pagtingin? So it's already a signal. But in virtual meetings, we cannot do that because we only see straight faces of heads of delegations that appear in the screen. These non-verbal signals could not be readily employed. Diba? If you have meetings, I don't know, maybe you have secret ways of signaling each other, like texting, but as I've said, this could be interrupted also. Sometimes you make a mistake in sending messages. Okay, next. Next is, this is the most important, the personal touch in negotiations. Here in the picture was one of my last meetings in the secretariat. There was a visiting official from the United States. And of course, if you are just in the other side of the table, it's just so easy to talk to them, like that. But if you're facing a screen, like what I'm doing now with you, it's so difficult to have a personal touch. I have been communicating with Nicole for quite some time, but it's only now that I've seen her personally. But still, I feel that I have not known her so much. Maybe someday we might bump each other in Iloilo or at DFA. So this is one of the most challenging aspects. Although we have online collaboration. Do you know this program, online collaboration, sa Google Documents? Do you do this? When you have to make a paper or a group project? Personal contacts are still essential. Unlike actual meetings where it could be easy to speak to other participants on the sidelines, virtual discussions are usually tightly controlled by the host or chair of the meeting. Yeah, did you know that? As I've said, they can switch off your video or audio. And a participant who desires to contact privately another fellow participant would need to initiate a separate communication avenue. While this is possible through our new messaging apps, the spontaneity and candor that is ever present in physical interactions are lost. Diba? I'm sure you young people would see how different is having a physical meeting than just having a cyber conversation, cyber date. Another aspect of personal touch is when we host dinners. They could be effective in negotiations. So this is an example of me hosting a dinner here in Jakarta. And after dinner, sometimes if they like the food that my wife cooked for them, they would agree with me in my proposal. If the wine is good, they would also agree with me. So the personal touch is very important. I could still remember an incident 20 years ago during a formal dinner when the hostess changed the seating arrangement and one of her guests refused to sit because the official is a lady and she was seated in between spouses of two other foreign ministers. She vehemently refused to sit because there's nothing to talk with spouses. So we have made that arrangement in our dinners here at home. My wife will sit at the other end of the table talking with other spouses while the ambassadors are seated on my end, as you can see in the picture here. As in the picture to the left, to my left is the Secretary General of the ASEAN. And the next one to him is now the chairman of the Committee on Permanent Representatives. And the gentleman in green is the former ambassador of Myanmar here in Jakarta. So in the other end of the table, you could see it in my Facebook, Nicole. My wife is also, anong tawag yan? Nagbabangka rin siya doon. She's also chairing, speaking with also the other wives there. So the problem is if the ambassador is a lady, where will you sit her? So like this other woman here, she's an ambassador of another country. So of course you would like to sit where there is serious discussion. Sometimes as a compromise, we just put them in the middle so they can listen to the other women talking and they can listen also to our side. It is very important to have personal interaction during diplomatic work, and that includes eating meals. Very important. I don't know if in your course you have do you have formal dinners? Is it part of a requirement in your course to have you have a formal dinner or a how do you call it, simulation of a diplomatic dinner? Nicole?
Yes, Amba, we have a subject called Diplomatic Protocol and Etiquette.
So you had to make all the arrangements, huh? For this, like you can see, they are all inspecting the menu card. You can see them; they're all intrigued what's in the menu, what my wife prepared for them. So with all those, as you can see, that could be another talk which my wife can do with all these arrangements in hosting a diplomatic dinner. As you can see, there are name cards, no? Yung tent cards, yan tinatawag lang, and all those things. Anyway, that's another matter. Next, another important aspect, another problem in the new normal, corridor diplomacy. You've heard about this, di ba? You've heard about this? Corridor diplomacy. Actually, it's not only done in the corridors. It could be done in other places outside the meeting room. You can see this. This is a picture of the former Secretary General of ASEAN. So while walking in the corridor, they have this. We call this technique is called a pull aside. Pull aside. You pull someone, and then you engage him in a discussion. It's a pull aside meeting, side meeting. In my experience, they have been very valuable mechanisms to break deadlocks. And as I have said, these serendipitous meetings could also happen in the golf course. I remember that before, when we had a meeting at Manila Hotel, and there was a deadlock. There was a morning meeting. There was a deadlock in one issue, and we suggested to them, just play golf there in Intramuros. There's a small course there in Intramuros. And by the evening, they told us that there's no more problem, because after playing golf, they were able to agree on the issue. Sometimes they also have this during music, in the music halls, like karaoke. Diba? Filipinos are known for that. So if you keep singing with each other, and you just can always whisper, will you agree? I will sing you another song, especially if you're a good singer. And sometimes it could be effective. All this corridor diplomacy, which could be done not only in the corridor, but in different places. You've seen this also in the movies, diba? Where they can meet each other. Okay, now the last challenge is about the time zone difference. Time zone. Since we are doing the virtual meetings, at least for us here, now we have only one time zone difference. You started at 2 o'clock, but it's only 1 o'clock here in Jakarta. It was still time for my lunch time. But anyway, I was able to adjust. I was able to eat some. The meal was not yet ready, according to my wife. So I just had to eat some leftovers first, so that to be ready for your meeting. But in ASEAN, we have 3 time zones. Did you know that? Among the capitals. Jakarta is in the same time zone as Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam. Ahead of it is the Philippines. So 1 hour kayo. And do you know that this kind of time zone is not geographical if you look at the globe? Because the same time as Manila, we have also Singapore and Malaysia. Although if you look at the globe, Singapore and Malaysia should be together with Jakarta. But I don't know why they decided to have permanent summertime in their countries. So meetings in Jakarta usually start at 9 in the morning. That means 10 o'clock in Manila. But when it is hosted by the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, or Singapore, the 9 o'clock there is still 8 o'clock here in Jakarta. So like now, when you're hosting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's just 1 o'clock here in Jakarta. It's not really much of a problem, just 1 hour of difference. However, ASEAN meetings have also to be done with our dialogue partners. For example, with the European Union, Brussels is 6 hours behind Jakarta. So 2 weeks ago, I chaired a meeting with the European Union. We had to do it in the afternoon, 3 o'clock Jakarta time. We finished about after 6 so that we can accommodate them in Brussels. There are problems with some other partners, especially in the Americas. In Washington, Washington is exactly in the other side of our planet. That means 12 hours behind Jakarta. So it's either that we have meetings with Americans early in the morning or late in the evening. We have done that before. So that is the problem because of the time zones in virtual meetings. And like when we fly there to America, then we could meet them at the convenient time. Although for those flying, you'll have also to reckon with the jet lag. Okay, so fellow ASEAN citizens, young people of San Agustin, young Ilonggos, I have presented to you the new normal in our ASEAN meetings. I would like to conclude with 2 insights. First is the importance of the message, and then adaptability. When you have meetings, I believe that the message must be conveyed effectively. Time should not be wasted in listening, actually or virtually, to a speaker if written versions of the speaker's message could be made available in advance. So, would you like me to just have given you a copy of my speech instead of sleepily listening to me this Saturday afternoon? So that could be also a challenge. A written document could be easily reread and reviewed in order to understand it. Diba? While listening face to face is only a one-way process, which could not be easily rewound unless it was recorded and the recording is made available immediately. That's always a problem when during our meetings, when there are no written documents, we have to listen carefully to the recording. Even before the video conferencing, it would be a difficulty because of the lack of records. So oral statements should be made only as responses to messages previously recorded, circulated, or as rejoinders to these responses. So like now, we could discuss them verbally. The second point is adaptability. The COVID-19 pandemic has drastically transformed the conventional wisdom of how we conduct our meetings. particularly in ASEAN, wherein tradition is very much honored and kept. As diplomats, we should always identify all sorts of scenarios in our international engagements and be prepared to innovate again for any contingency in the near future. I'll show you a photo of a very ingenious way how we were able to symbolically transmit a copy of a signed document. I think you've done this also, maybe. You see that? It's a signed document from Hanoi to Jakarta. So they had to practice it just for show, so that to show that there was a handover of the document. That's how ingenious they are, how they were able to adapt to the situation. Recently, many delegates prefer to meet face-to-face. Nahidlaw na gid sila. But there are other delegates who are still not comfortable to appear physically because they're still afraid of COVID. So do you know what we did? We adopted the so-called hybrid meetings. You know what's hybrid? Parang hybrid na manok, no? A hybrid. So some were appearing personally, some appeared face-to-face. So here's another picture. This happened only last week. There you are. So those who are afraid of to be infected, they had to appear there in the middle, in the screen. If you count them in ASEAN, I think only 8 countries send their foreign ministers, while 2 others, 2 or 3, remain in their respective capitals. So this is called a hybrid meeting. In your school, do you do also hybrid meetings, or it's either virtual or face-to-face? No? And then, as a final slide, I'll show this to you. We tried to maintain the ASEAN way, the ASEAN way of linking hands. You know, look at this. The ASEAN way is this, no? Linking hands together. So here in ASEAN, we did this, but through, again, the using technology. And there we are, connected with each other. So my dear fellow ASEAN citizens in the University of San Agustin, I hope you have learned something about conducting meetings here in the ASEAN. As a former teacher, I value so much the process of transferring knowledge from one generation to another. What I have said is not cast in stone. There is more learning to be done by all of you just by observing developments around the world. So, young people of San Agustin, I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Servigon. Indeed, that was a very informative and insightful presentation. Seeing our audience's reaction and responses truly testified their interest in how ASEAN works amidst the global pandemic.
Yes, we really did learn a lot from the presentation of Ambassador Servigon, such as the advances or benefits of ASEAN virtual meetings, and at the same time, of course, the challenges that comes with it. Especially how technology played a big role in these meetings in the new normal. Okay, so at this point, I know that some of us here still have some questions for Ambassador Servigon. Thus, we are going to proceed to our open forum.
You can raise your hands to be acknowledged first, then you can open your microphones and ask your questions. You can also type them in our chat box or direct message me or Lou so that we can read them for you. Okay, while waiting, we have here some prepared question for our Ambassador Servigon. Um, Ambassador, good afternoon once again. This is a question from Tarek. The shift to an online platform has brought about many advantages. What does the ASEAN do to prevent cyber attacks or persons with malicious intent trying to get a hold of important international documents?
ASEAN has now instituted a cybersecurity program together with our dialogue partners. Before we were just how do you call this, relax when we share all this information, but now we have seen that there are really malicious people who just like to sabotage. Yeah. Not only in meetings but even the website. You have seen this, websites, how they change the contents of websites. So we're very careful of that. We have this program in ASEAN, as well as in not only ASEAN but even in our government offices. So we have to learn. We have to identify what are these ways to sabotage. We should be always one step ahead. So what do you mean by one step ahead? Maybe you should also have the mind of a probable saboteur. If you want to sabotage a communication, diba? You must also think you must be able to identify the weakness of that kind of communication. I know that in your meeting now you are strict in admitting your participants. Kilala niyo sila lahat, di ba? So my son said that he could not enter earlier, but thank you for allowing him to observe. Okay. So if you have no more questions, can I ask you a question? No questions. So who among you were able to attend any ASEAN activity?
Well, actually, I haven't. But I'm dreaming to attend ASEAN activity. It's my goal.
There are online activities available. I have been circulating it since last year or 2 years ago. I think I have sent them information. I know that some people in San Agustin have participated in some of these ASEAN activities. One was even a relative of my wife from Tigbawan last year, and it was like a science activity by ASEAN. So I have sent information about the EU ASEAN Young Leaders Forum. I sent that to Nicole, or you can see it also in our Facebook. Our mission has a Facebook and a website where we always post opportunities for you to participate in ASEAN activities. So please participate in them. Okay. No more questions?
Okay, so Amba, we have another one from one of the students. With the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, what would be its implication for the ASEAN community?
You know, Russia is also a Pacific country. The eastern part of Russia faces the Pacific. Russia is also is a dialogue partner of ASEAN and a part of the East Asia Summit as well as the ASEAN Regional Forum. So even if the conflict is far in the other side of the planet, we are still affected because we have so many relations with Russia. Foremost of these are trade relations. The Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the Philippines has already issued a statement about our concerns with the overseas Filipinos in Ukraine. Do you know of any Filipino who is working in Ukraine? Anybody among you? We have no embassy in Ukraine, in Kiev. The embassy nearest to Ukraine, the embassy that has actually jurisdiction in Ukraine is located next door, which is in Poland, in Warsaw. Do you know anybody in Poland? May kilala ka mo? So they are also very concerned. Actually, our ambassador there is a career diplomat who is an Ilongga from Capiz. And she is ready to provide the necessary attention to Filipinos who are escaping the troubles there in Ukraine. We are cooperating with the other like-minded countries in trying to find a solution to this problem. I hope that I have answered your question.
Ambassador, we have another question from one of the students in attendance here at Zoom. What is the best advice you can give to someone who's interested in pursuing this type of career path? Yes. Especially for us. This is a question for us, actually, Ambassador.
Yeah. Actually, for me, I will just cite an example. No? My sons always joke that their father is an accidental diplomat. I grew up in Iloilo. My parents had really no idea that there's a career in the foreign service. During my time, we only know of one ambassador who was a political appointee. That was the time of Marcos. And then we have a relative who was a commercial attaché somewhere in Korea. But beside that, we never knew that there was a career. So I was studying law in Diliman. My father then told me that there is a exam for foreign service, and it's the only exam that he was not able to pass. It was during the 1960s. So, but it never occurred to me that I will have to take it. But when I was in law school, I saw again this announcement, and I just took the chance. As they say, wala magawa, no? So it happened also to some of my batchmates. One batchmate of mine just accompanied his girlfriend to take the exam. And it was he who passed the exam, and not his girlfriend. So it was accidental, but you must really have an interest on international affairs. And maybe that's why I passed the exam, because ever since I was a student, even elementary, I was really interested in current events in international affairs. I have the map of the world in my room when I was still a student. And in my grandfather's house, I would always see the map of the world, no? Different maps in the walls. So it just made me interested. And when I took the exam, I passed it. So it was nakasabay pa sa bar exam, the bar exams. And the bar exams during the time was on Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday I had my oral exam. If you look at the information document for the Foreign Service, you could see how difficult it is now. They have now 5 levels. During our time, there was only, I think, 3 levels. 3 levels of exam. But look at it. It's in the website now. It's so easy. Just look at and you can prepare for it. It's really a career. Just like in the military, it's a career with 7 ranks. Just like in the military. So you go up through these ranks and you will be assigned anything, any position, and different places. I think some of you might know of someone who is in the Foreign Service now. Anybody? Sino mga kilala nyo? You know, San Agustin has one of the most, you always forget about it, that one of your graduates, undergrad graduates there, became a famous ambassador, career ambassador. His last position was in Switzerland. And he has passed away, I think, several years ago. His name is Ambassador Luis Ascalon. So maybe you might know him. He became an ambassador during the 1960s. He was a career ambassador. But there is also another way in which to join the Foreign Service is to be a staff employee, staff personnel. That means you just need to take the civil service exam and a local DFA exam. You have seen them at the passport office, di ba? At Robinsons. Makita niyo sila dyan. Yeah. They are Foreign Service staff officers, Foreign Service staff. No? But if anybody of you, is there anybody here who knows someone who is a career diplomat, an ambassador? Wala talaga. So, Ambassador Feria. Oh yes, Ambassador Feria is an Ilongga from Bacolod. It says here. She is now the ambassador to Portugal, Lisbon. Sino pa? Nobody else? Okay. So if you're really interested, then you'll have to prepare it. You have really to prepare for it so well, because the exams are not a joke. And my 2 sons, they are here now. They have decided not to follow me. I don't know why. They have other plans, other careers. Okay. Other questions?
Okay, so Amba, we have the last question. Medyo lighter siya, no? Amba, in case you miss your hometown, we are curious to know, if given the chance to return here in Iloilo City, what would be the first Ilonggo delicacy would you eat?
I was there last October, last year. And you know where my sister brought me immediately? We went to Santa Barbara, and there was a batchoy. I don't know what, it's a batchoy house there, somewhere in Santa Barbara. Sino taga Santa Barbara, Dre? And I always tell my sister that I always want to eat the original batchoy of Iloilo. So that's what we did. I'm from Molo, of course, but my wife knows how to prepare pancit molo, so it's not a problem. We serve pancit molo to our guests. Okay. You have no more questions? You can still ask me question.
Okay, but I think there's one from our students here in the Zoom.
Yeah, please.
Okay, Nang Divine, you may raise your hand and open your mic po.
Basin Huya. Yeah, there's someone raising the hand. Mary Divine, Villaluna.
Okay, you may po, Nang.
All right. Hello, folks. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Sorry.
Yeah, open your. Oh, there you are. Yes, ma'am.
Hello po. Sorry. Uh,
Hello po. Sorry.
audible na po.
You
Hello
can
po.
close
Sorry.
your video
All right. So,
so that you can have an easy connection so that I can hear your question. Pwede mo switch off yung video mo.
I'm sorry po. I'm using a different device. So for my for this afternoon is the new normal in the CN meetings and events. Well, I've been edited during the ASEAN virtual meetings, and if yes, how is it being handled? Because actually we're expressing ourselves.
I'm not sure I was able to get your question. Nicole, can you repeat it? What was the question?
Sorry,
Okay.
it's choppy on my end.
Okay, Nang Deb, maybe you can type it po sa chat box.
Yeah, there's a question here in the chat box. Does your embassy accept OJTs? Oh, that's a very good question. Before the COVID pandemic, we have been accepting internships. So long, I think San Agustin has an arrangement with the DFA for interns. And you know that in my former school, the Binil, they even send their interns to abroad. We used to have one intern in Hong Kong, and I think she really enjoyed her participation because she was involved in many activities of the consulate in Hong Kong. She even joined the Rigodon de Honor because one of the dancers could not dance during the Independence Day. So I still remember your interns in Manila in 2015. Yeah, hindi yun nakilala siguro. But they were really very good. But now, because of this COVID, we cannot accept all these OJTs. And I suggest that maybe your school should make again arrangements for. I'm sure you have arrangements now on when it's safe to do it. You can have your internship. Here, I now see the question from Divine. Any tense situation during ASEAN virtual meetings? Yes, it happened. Wherein there was even a virtual walkout. You know what's a virtual walkout? Napikon. So what? Actually, we should have learned that a long time ago. Diplomats should have learned that a long time ago that never leave your seat empty. You can the ambassador can walk out, but immediately someone should take over, should sit there. If you, I don't know if you, it's maybe in your diplomatic practice during the Korean War, the Americans were able to get the UN to sanction the the UN command in Korea, because the one objecting walked out and forgot to leave a colleague in the seat. So it's like that. So virtual walkouts are possible. Kung pikon kayo, just shut up your screen, but be careful that the other one should always appear. Your colleague will be still there listening. So it happened. Any more? No more questions?
I think but there's another one po.
Yes.
So the question aba is, how do diplomats conduct corridor diplomacy since the pandemic has hit the entire world? How does your office or ASEAN secure that documents and files shared are not leaked through file sharing or hacking?
Yeah, it's really a challenge, as I've said. So, like now, we are negotiating a document about Ukraine, so it must still be confidential. But there's a way in which we were able to circulate it, the draft, and we're just hoping that the hacker is not that powerful to get through our communications. We have a way of doing it. I cannot tell it to you, but anyway, some of the drafts are not really that dangerous or sensitive that we can share it electronically. But as you have seen, there are times that there must be personal appearances when they have to negotiate. It's not really with ASEAN, but as you have seen with what happened in Ukraine, have you seen that photo, the picture of where there was a meeting of two leaders in a very long table? Have you seen that? Kita niyo yan? It has been circulated around the world. They really had to meet face to face, but because they're afraid of COVID, they had to use a table which was very long. Do you know that? Yeah, Miss Moiko, you've seen that? Who were the two leaders?
I'm not sure who's the other one, but I think the other one was Vladimir Putin because from what I've heard, he's very afraid of getting COVID or showing any signs of weakness or illness.
The story is there is that the other leader who went to Moscow just to hoping to prevent the war, would not allow the Russians to take the PCR test on the leader. They're afraid, no? Diba? He does not want a PCR test because I really don't know the reason why medically he does not want to have a PCR test in Russia, in Moscow. So, but he is there, so as a way to avoid any so that they can still meet, they had to find a very long table and they had to face each other at both ends. So that's how they had to do. Hindi na pwede ba yun virtual by camera, video conferencing. They want it to be face to face. In ASEAN, we did that last year, no? When you remember the case of Myanmar, when there was a coup d'etat in Myanmar in February last year. And so we had an emergency meeting here in Jakarta. It could not be done virtually, so it was really a big operation that we had to do it in April. I was there. All of us were really so scared that because it was a big crowd. Imagine leaders of ASEAN had to come to Jakarta. For the Philippines, we were represented by Secretary Locsin. But the other countries, I think 7 other countries send their own leaders just to come. So it was really a very difficult situation. Fortunately, no leader complained that they got infected here in Jakarta. No one admitted that they were infected. That was before the Delta and the Omicron. It was April last year. Okay.
Well, I think, Ambassador, we have only last question here at our chat box. From okay, so what is ASEAN diplomacy's critical role in post-conflict reconstruction and democratic support?
I really don't know if I understand your question. Post-conflict reconstruction and democratic support. There are two. These terms are quite vague. Post-conflict reconstruction. So it assumes that there was a conflict, then there must be reconstruction, and it assumes that there must be democratic support. My initial reaction here is that democracy is a principle mentioned in the ASEAN Charter. However, it is not defined. Every country has its own definition of democracy. You know that. The democracy that you practice here in the Philippines might be different from the democracy that is practiced in other countries. So how sure are you that your democracy is the genuine democracy, while others claim that they are also practicing democracy? So that's always the dilemma. ASEAN has not yet defined what is democracy. In post-conflict reconstruction, you may have done that already before, after what happened in Cambodia, after in Timor-Leste. We have helped them in the reconstruction efforts. And we are doing that in Myanmar, especially with our humanitarian assistance. Humanitarian assistance to Myanmar people has been going on despite the coup d'etat. ASEAN has always ensured that. Okay. So if there are no more questions, yeah, I see Nicole raising her hand.
Hello, Amba. So we have a question from one of the students here. And his question is, why must the Philippines allow the ICC to continue its investigation?
What is the question again?
Why must the Philippines allow the ICC to continue its investigation?
ICC.
Yes.
International Criminal Court investigation. I think that the Department of Justice is handling that, and I'm not so familiar about the present situation on how they deal with the ICC. In ASEAN, we don't. We are not involved in this matter. Okay.
I think that is the end of our open forum, Ambassador. All right, that's it for our open forum. As we can see the beauty of diplomacy through exchanging, exploring, and understanding ideas. Again, thank you very much, Ambassador Servigan. And now I will give the floor to my partner, Lou.
Okay, so thank you, Clyde. That was indeed a meaningful question and answer portion. So at this juncture, we would like to present the certificate of recognition to our guest speaker this afternoon. So the certificate reads, University of San Agustin Junior Diplomat Course Certificate of Appreciation is presented to His Excellency Noel Eugene Eusebio Servigon for imparting with us his invaluable time and expertise with the participants in talk on JDC Talks, Embracing Caritas in the New Normal, with the topic, the new normal in ASEAN meetings and events on February 26, 2022, given this 26th day of February 2022 via Zoom conference. Site, Ms. Nicole Rose Di Finita, Secretary General, Junior Diplomats Corps, Miss Elaine Rose M. Nelson, Advisor, Junior Diplomats Corps, Jerimar Jeric M. Anatan, Coordinator of the Recognized Student Organization, Eric C. Divinagracia, Director of the Student Affairs and Welfare Office, and Reverend Father Jonas M. Mejares, OSA, the Vice President of Augustinian Formation and Mission.
Okay, so now may I request everyone to turn on their cameras for we'll have a photo opportunity with Ambassador Sargon. Everyone, let's show our diplomatic smiles.
Okay, tech team, please tell us when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, keep smiling. And okay, last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I think that's it. Okay, all right. Once again, thank you very much, Ambassador Servigon, for your time. We are all honored and we are beyond thankful that you were able to be with us this afternoon.
Yeah, it's lovely to see the smiles of the young diplomats here with Ambassador Sargon. But before that, let us have Nicole Rose Finita, our JDC Secretary General, for the closing remarks.
Okay, so hello everyone. Good afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to express my appreciation and deepest gratitude to our honorable guest speaker, Ambassador Noel Servigon, for his valuable time and contribution to impart learnings on this year's JDC Talks with the theme Embracing Caritas in the New Normal. So, Amba, we really had fun po, especially sa mga relatable na statements earlier. So, kasadya lang. Anyway, my deepest gratitude goes also to all who attended the webinar and for your active participation in the open forum, and to everyone in general who helped to make it such a successful event despite the unanticipated blackout in the whole city. So, as foreign students, we all know how important the role of ASEAN is in the international community, especially in the regional context. So, wherein ASEAN aims to accelerate economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region, and to promote regional peace and stability through abiding respect for justice and the rule of law in the relationship among countries in the region, and adherence to the principle of the United Nations Charter. Throughout this half-day event, the issue of developments in the ASEAN, how this pandemic allowed meetings to be at our comfiest wardrobe, the convenience of using online platforms was discussed by our speaker. Also, he highlighted the importance of the message. He also highlighted the importance of the message that we would like to convey and the adaptability of us to any modality of ways that is being thrown to us now. Hence, through Ambassador Servigon's message, we were able to take a grasp on how meetings have taken place and how protocols changed amidst the pandemic. And we can say that it is somehow similar to our online classes. So before I am ending my closing remarks, I really hope that everyone who attended right now have learned and gained a lot of knowledge that will be useful, especially when us aspirants to work in the field of foreign service. So I hope that you are still well wherever you may be right now. And also, good luck sa mga papers and quizzes ninyo sa ating teachers. Charot, joke lang. Anyway, padayon lang kita kag madamo gid nga salamat sa inyo nga tanan.
So thank you very much for inviting me. I hope that we can see each other in the near future. Keep safe and keep well.
Okay, so thank you, Amba. Thank you, Miss Benita. And yes, we are now down to the last part of our program. But before we proceed, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to Ambassador Surbigon for his precious time and effort to deliver with us today his message, as well as to our participants who are here today despite their busy schedules. Okay, so I won't make this long, but ladies and gentlemen, the USA March. Okay, so that's all for our program this afternoon. Goodbye, keep safe, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Muchas gracias, young diplomats. Bye-bye.